world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions. Only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Yo, what's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. You can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. It's Tuesday night, 9 p.m., where we chop up the latest news and opinions. I do it with my homeboys every week. Cody Lashley in the house. How you doing, my friend?
Tony Dunn, what's up, brother? It's another Tuesday night. And listen, if it's a Tuesday, there's nothing I want to do more than talk Panthers football. And I want to do it with you, Tony. I want to do it with you, CK. And I definitely want to do it with the best Panther fans in all of YouTube. Chef Jeff, Shane Welch, Ben S., Joey the Blind Panther, Esquivel, Underground West, Tyler Duncan, Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
CK in the house. We might even get out of here early, homie, and go play some dang video games at this rate.
Dude,
it's quiet.
I am
time.
down for it. Yeah, it's so quiet, man. It's eerily quiet. I'm just waiting for some bad news or good news to come around the corner. We'll find out which happens. But yeah, man, it should be interesting. And Cody's talking about how he wants to do it with everybody. So good start to the show.
You've been.
Dude, this quarantine's got my blood hot, man. I can't help it, man. What do you want me to do?
You've been streaming on Twitch. You guys got to do us a solid. Go find @Codizzle_Allen on all the platforms. Yes. Twitch specifically, and just put a follow on him. It'll give you a little notification that he's streaming. And even if you don't like video games, just open it up and flip your phone over.
No, listen, it's not even about the video games all the time, right? So, just to put it into perspective, it's about reactions sometimes. If you guys are interested in seeing what that looks like from people reacting, I have some clips I can play tonight. But again, this is the Panthers podcast, so I'll leave that up to the chat.
Well, yeah, you guys, we're gonna have to fill some time at some point. So if it's putting up
like 60-second clips, so nothing crazy. But
well, we'll check out your channel at some point in the show, guys. The Cat Calls line, the number's 252-228-5098, episode 16 in the house, and it's quiet. Yeah, a little too quiet. It's that's my nod to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, where a little. That's Raph. Yeah, a little too Raph.
Ben S. beat you to it in the chat.
Did he? Nice. Then he gets it.
Yeah. He said, quiet in here.
So, really, there's very little to talk about. In fact, I went to the Panthers website to see if there was anything they were highlighting, and they're even running out of stuff. Kristen Balboni gets to know Joe Brady. And right now, the only thing on the Panthers website is about your little golden boy, Joe Brady. And it turns out he likes to do his his video conferences in the 10GS bathroom. There is nothing in there, so all the sound is just banging around, And he likes lavender candles. And that's all we got. Too. That's all we got. We have nothing to talk about but Joe Brady's trying to get peace with a kind of aromatherapy.
But dude, who doesn't love a good scented candle though? Man, if I'm in, dude, every once in a while, I'll get my hipster vibe going on. Curl up with a nice book, light up a scented candle, dude. Throw something on Netflix. Come on, man. Dude, get in touch with that divine feminine. Let's go, man. It's not a bad thing. And by the way, that's your Wonder Boy offensive coordinator too. Okay,
he's got to be. All of a sudden, he's got to be. I don't know because you're sure of it. You're sure of it. I'm hopeful of it.
All of a sudden, you have this naysayer, pessimist attitude about Joe Brady. I don't understand where that comes from. It's dumb as hell. The guy is incredible, and he's gonna prove it, Tony. And you should know this.
If you keep talking to me like this, I'm going to go get a candle and light it.
Ooh, I might take my shirt off.
Hey, I don't even know so then I peeked at after I went over to Panthers.com. I went over to Panthers Reddit, right? Because if you want to find like basically the internet hunters of the world, they're always on Reddit usually. You know, it's a good place to go. For some reason, it just feels like everything breaks fast on Reddit. You know, like, and I think maybe it's just because it's so focused and organized on singular topics, right? Mm-hmm. It's easy to find information. But I go to the Panthers Reddit site, and there's absolutely nothing, dude. I mean, nothing.
It's
people drawing. People are drawing. People are scouting. The Robinson kid, like we're on the 5th round picks, looking at 5th round picks film at this point.
Yeah.
And some people are saying, look at this, 1, 2, 3. This is somebody posted my schedule predictions, 4-12, win range 3 to 8. He's got him at 4 W's. I only see 3 on this picture. 1. Oh, so he's predicting the Raiders. But the Bucks. How you gonna win the Bucks?
And who is this?
This is just his name is Tuckboy69.
So you're just reading a random Reddit post on it. Yeah. No, that's what we've devolved. I mean, there's nothing going on. There's nothing. I think so Mecklenburg today was the first day that certain teams were allowed to report back, and Bank of America Stadium is open now. They're allowed to have people in the building. So it slowed today, but you should start to see more and more come out. I saw a picture of Teddy Bridgewater and Robbie Anderson working out together somewhere. I don't know where it was. But I figured I'd highlight this. Chef Jeff, cousin, what's up, brother? In the chat with the 420 love bomb. Thank you, man. Says, us PSL owners got a letter about possible canceled season, saying they will refund for next season. I don't know. I don't think that'll happen. It kind of seems like the South is opening up more and more. It's not something I would be too concerned about. But yeah, man, there's really nothing to talk about, man. This is we're going to talk about, I guess the roster a little bit and just see what we find.
I feel like we're just going to have the same conversation we've had for the last 3 weeks, which is like, do you think it's better to try to win a few games or should we tank? Right? That's all we talk about. CK that popped over then to the NFL.com, like trying to find stuff. Their news section now is like non-existent. Like they don't even have news, right? The entire NFL.com. You got stories like this. Pennsylvania governor not pleased with Ben Roethlisberger's barbershop trip. I guess there is one story going around that the NFL owners made some the changes to the Rooney Rule and also floated the idea, but then tabled it that incentivizing minority hires could by like helping them in the draft. That was like the most news and then people try to talk about it, but we don't
How would they even do that?
It's such a terrible idea.
I mean, is that really like a thing that like?
Yeah,
well, I don't know. So
they put it forward. It's like one of those things like, hey, we're just going to throw this idea out there and see if it sticks, knowing it won't stick. But the thought is that if you hired a minority coach or GM, maybe it was GM, it says, incentivizing the hiring of minority coaching and front office candidates potentially could have given them like a leg up in the draft. So now we're back to talking about like that's almost like a lottery thing.
Yeah, but it's also like, listen, I have never been a black man and do not claim to speak on behalf of one or any other person of color, but I would want to be hired based on my merits and not just because the team hiring me is getting some sort of advantage in the draft. It's like then it kind of feels like
And
you're
what
not
happens if
hiring.
they fire them after that year?
Yeah, dude, beats the hell out of me.
Like if they
it doesn't make
Steve
sense
Wilkes
at all.
them, if they Steve Wilkes
It
them,
doesn't make sense at all. I mean, that's pretty dumb.
CK,
I don't know.
is
Yeah,
there
how would you
anything
make-
to talk about on any of this? He ain't even around.
He's playing Warzone.
Yeah, he's
No,
bored. He's bored.
I mean, basically, we could just take questions from the chat. We got a lot of people. I did see one question. Shannon Welch said, "What do you guys think about cornerback opposite of Dante?" I don't know. I feel as though Troy Pride which is scary because he's a fourth round draft pick.
Imagine
But
having
Troy Pride
two corners that are like 5'8".
And Jeremy Chin. Jeremy Chin has the athleticism to play corner. So I wouldn't be surprised if they trot him out there at the position. But yeah, right now there is no one proven at the corner position opposite of Dante. And I feel that's probably why a lot of people do not predict us to have a good record next year. We have a lot of high-powered offenses in the NFC South specifically, and yeah, we just have an unproven backfield. We have a young defensive line. There's a whole lot of unproven around our roster, so we're gonna have to depend on young players to step up and really produce in their first year if this season is going to be anything resembling notable.
I'm trying to see. Let me see if I can find anything.
There he is. He's back.
Sorry, guys.
AFK.
Toddler faith.
What is it? AFK? AKF?
Yeah, AFK. AFK, away from keyboard.
Away from keyboard. We've been talking about nothing, dude. We talked about the NFL incentivizing hiring minority candidates through the draft.
Yeah.
We don't see how that would work. Nor would I think that people would be interested. Maybe there would be somebody, but
yeah,
that would say like, okay, I don't care.
Yeah.
But what if they did win, and then people are like, it's because they got an extra draft pick.
Well, that's the thing. I think that is. I agree. I think that there needs to be more because let's be honest. Most of the players in the NFL are of minority, of that group of people. And so I think it's only logical that should also kind of translate over into the other aspect of the game because they're the ones that know more about it now, right? They've been there more than anybody else. The part that I worry about with the idea of incentivizing that is creating more contention, right? Because of, they're doing it because of the benefit of doing the draft pick. I didn't get hired, even though I'm the, in their mind, the better candidate because they wanted a better draft pick. That's the reason, right? And so, like, for instance, with the Raiders, they made the decision to hire Gruden before they interviewed anybody. They knew that's what he wanted. They wanted to go. It's like going and getting your quarterback. That's like saying that before you draft your quarterback, you're required to look at everybody else, even though you already know you're basically putting more effort into something that you already know is not going to even work out, right? A lot of times these guys are interviewing these minority coaches and stuff because simply to maintain the Rooney Rule because they already know who they're hiring. Like it feels
insulting to a degree,
Yeah, you don't go if you were I guess trying to actually get that Oakland job, right? Before it was already made the mind up that it was going to be Gruden's job. If you go and waste your time interviewing, what does that do for you? There's no benefit to do that, But I think that it could just create this I guess conflict with people, and I think you almost make it more divisive by doing it. I think that it needs to be better, but there shouldn't have to be a reward base in place for it.
Yeah, it's a dicey situation. Think about this: is the Panthers are seemingly determined to hire Matt Rule before they talk to Bieniemy. Isn't that, is my memory serve me right on that, or did they meet? Like, I feel like Eric Bieniemy wasn't ever a real like a solid candidate for the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, he was a solid candidate for a lot of people. A lot of
But
people
I don't
were
think he
surprised
was
that
for
he
us.
didn't come away for a job. Well, again, you don't know, man. We've thought a lot of things about this current regime, from Cam Newton to Greg Olsen to Luke, and then all of a sudden everything is flipped up on its head. There's a real debate in our chat room right now, not to change the subject, but Panthers got FSU 23, as always. The eternal optimist is saying that our team is going to be better this year, and he goes on to list his reasons why. And then he has hope that we're going to be a good football team, and then not a lot of people agree with him. And it's sort of, we're having that same conversation as we have no idea what this team is going to be next year. And I think that's what infuriates everyone, because they could be on both ends of the spectrum or somewhere in between. We can be an 8-8 football team. Maybe we can be a 10-6, 11-5 if the cards fall the right direction. But then at the same time, Ben S. Makes a bunch of good points too. He says we have a whole new coaching staff, a defense full of young starters, a division of Hall of Fame quarterbacks and experienced coaches. I mean, we're going to have to go up against a whole lot with a whole bunch of new players on our football team. So
everybody's learning. Everybody's learning. Yeah. I mean, we even got a new owner.
And you're installing a brand new offense, a brand new defense. I mean, is it possible for us to surprise people? Yeah, but I don't know, man. There's a lot of obstacles in front of this Carolina Panthers team going into this next season, and with all this COVID stuff, everyone's getting a later start than normal too. So you have less time to install that brand new offense and that brand new defense.
And we agree that puts us at a bigger disadvantage than these established offenses and defenses, right?
Yeah, and it's not like we're in the advantage of having Tom Brady and Gronk on our team that already have this connection. So that's already there between them. Matt Ryan and Drew Brees have been on that team. They've been the heart and soul of the Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. So they already have a bit of a step up in front of us from a game planning perspective. They don't have to do as much. They don't have to teach as much.
The coaching staff has a learning curve ahead of them. We talk about the learning curve for rookies coming into the league, and we know it's a big one for a lot of people. That's why the superstars are the superstars, because the curve just isn't there. But you have a team that's in a rebuild. You have a coaching staff that has limited experience and very little experience in the NFL. So you have all those issues. So it's not like, hey, this is our roster, and this is what we're going to do. Like, I've done this before in the past. I guess you could say you did a little bit in college. You add in that COVID stuff, and this is or the limitations with that. When they had the lockouts, everybody said that's going to weigh hard on the rookie QBs. So the teams that are younger, we're younger. I mean, you got to believe that the beginning of the season we might not be the sharpest. Now, this is not a NFL reference, but a different sport reference. But NASCAR kicked off this week. They had a race this past Sunday. They have a race tomorrow night. I tried to watch a little bit of it. I just don't even know what to watch. I
can't do it anymore, man. I used to be big on NASCAR as a kid, but dude, I just can't.
I just don't know how to watch it. I don't even know what to be excited about or what to look for. It's just really fast cars going around.
Turns, man. Duh.
Well, I sat there and looked for right turns the whole time, and I didn't see any.
They never happen. You wait for them to turn right; it just never happens. Just
goes
around in one big circle.
I heard somebody talking about gambling on the sport, and they said this week the person didn't know a lot about NASCAR, but they, I guess, like betting and know a lot about betting. And they said what they're going to do is just avoid not like what they're only going to do, but new crew chiefs paired with new drivers, right? New drivers with new cars. They didn't have any practice laps. So they were going with people who worked together for a long time and already had that chemistry. Now, I guess the good news is we do have all the players from Baylor, Temple, and all the coaches that have coached with Matt Rule. So maybe there is some chemistry.
Yeah, there's some. And again, I feel like we're picking on Panthers guy for being an optimist. And dude, no one's blaming him for pulling and supporting the Panthers. But he talks about Joe Brady and Teddy Bridgewater having that connection from previously working together also.
Do you think they take baths together with the lavender candles lit? That type of connection?
Maybe so. But and also, I mean, how much can you really get to know someone over the course of 1 year? I mean, how well established can you be with a backup quarterback?
Like you're not like and you're roommates. Not even the offensive You're not roommates.
Yeah, you're not roommates. Joe Brady wasn't the offensive coordinator. Teddy Bridgewater wasn't the starter. And again, I'm not trying to downplay whatever connection they do have. I mean, it's definitely better than nothing. But, I just don't know how much of a rapport they actually do have with one another. I mean, I think the benefits of Joe Brady is that his system is very quarterback friendly. So really, it doesn't matter if they have any rapport with one another. Teddy Bridgewater is an accurate enough distributor of the football that he's going to be able to move the ball and dink and dunk around and play the offense in rhythm, very much like Jimmy Garoppolo does for the San Francisco 49ers. And then went to the Super Bowl, So it's not, no one's trying to shit on Bridgewater directly. I mean, I'm sure some people are, but it's not about Bridgewater. There's just a lot of people that don't believe that Teddy Bridgewater is the future of this organization, and I count myself amongst one of those people. And I don't mind having another bad season if it means securing our quarterback for the next 10, 15 years. I mean, I've already been through 2 bad ones where our expectations are high. I don't mind having low expectations and then them meeting my low expectations and not being a good football team. Mm-hmm. It might be better for us.
All right. Well, that's like the same conversation we've had, right? Just over and over and over we go. Are we going to play
the
football?
Best, expect the worst. I mean, that's the way I approach it. I mean, I think that's the best way to handle, pretty much anything in life. Plan for the worst case scenario and hope for best, right? That's the reality. I think that's what we have to do as Panthers fans in this situation. I mean, we can be optimists certainly, but at least expecting mediocrity provides us an opportunity to actually be excited for something when it actually happens and not be disappointed like we have been the last 2 years with the way things have shaked out. I mean, we've gone into every season the past, let's say, I would say 2017, we didn't expect much, right? 2017, we went into that season because we had just come off of a really bad season in 2016. 2017, we came in and we actually had a good season. We didn't expect anything the season before that. But 2018, we expected the world. We were like, this is going to be it. This is what we got to do. Cam's back healthy. So we thought, and we started out that way. We started out like we were going to expect the world, and then we crumbled. And then what did we do this year? 2019 or 2018, we said,
do you remember we went to Arizona, lost?
Yeah. No, we won Arizona.
No, did we win? Okay. Yeah, it was that Houston game that really gave us a little
more because we saw what Kyle Allen did with that final heave. We were like, does this guy have the gene? Like, we haven't seen anything that was making us believe that he was the answer, right? but it seemed to be like what he was doing was working. And it's almost like that Tom Brady first year we felt there early, where like Tom Brady, when his first year, he didn't like blow the roof off the place. Like he wasn't coming in as an all-pro immediately and making things like he did well enough to be the starter. And then they went to the Super Bowl. They kind of ran in with the coattails of that defense being so good that year. And then Tom Brady just grew into being this just incredible player. And I think for all of us, none of us are going to sit there and say we thought that Kyle Allen was the next Tom Brady. But when you saw that play that he had against J.J. Watt, where he was able to get that ball out and, avoid that sack that was able to get us to win that game, at that point in time, you're thinking, maybe he's got it. Maybe he's got the gene that gives us that edge, right? If it's going to be a 3-point game, it's going to go in our favor, right? We felt that way at least to some degree. And then we've started to see the other side of that coin. It started to falter. Our defense wasn't able to stand up. And guess what? When our defense wasn't good, we find ourselves in a really bad situation because we didn't have an offense that could catch up.
We just turned out we weren't good. I don't know why we were so as bad as we were. Like, I mean, it would be one thing is that if it was just a quarterback situation, but it turned out it was a mess.
But I think it
that's nice to turn the page, though. Then,
well, when your quarterback crumbles and he's the leader of your football team, everything else crumbles.
Yeah,
and it's like if you don't believe in your quarterback, and it's not necessarily their fault. Kyle Allen and Will Grier want to be the best quarterback in the world, but they're not. So when they're out there on the field, it's like your defense is always going to go out there and work and give effort. But at the end of the day, it's like everything has already started to go wrong. So I don't know, man. What we're doing right now is we're hoping for a lot of unproven talent to be really good against very good proven talent right away. I mean, it's some of the best players in the NFL are in the NFC South. And we're going to play them 2 times a year. And we just have a lot of unproven. And, there are a lot of people that are like, well, be fair to Teddy Bridgewater. Be fair to Teddy Bridgewater.
I don't think we're being unfair. Like, what have we even said?
No one's being unfair to Teddy Bridgewater. The fact of the matter is this. Teddy Bridgewater has thrown 14 touchdowns in his career. That, like, in the season, the most touchdowns that he has thrown in a single season is 14 touchdowns. Okay, so don't get mad at me or upset at me if I'm like, well, Teddy Bridgewater hasn't proven that he can be a long-term leader of a football team, because he hasn't. 5 games with the Saints behind their really good offensive line does not tell me that you have what it takes to shoulder a football team like Cam Newton did when he was healthy. So, I'm not pulling against them. No one is. But we have to see some shit to believe it. And right now we're hoping that all of these things, like Joe Brady's offense and our weapons, that all of that coalesces into something, like a high-powered offense. But right now there's no evidence of that just yet. So, no one's bashing Teddy Bridgewater. No one wants him to fail.
No, I mean, to be honest, I kind of like the guy, right? It's not a matter of not liking him. Honestly, I'd be thrilled if he was able to. It'd be an incredible story to see him rise to be this incredible player, because I think that to come from being having such high expectations, being a first-round draft pick, as Panthers FSU has pointed out, to having a near just a devastating injury that most people would have said ended his career, right? To come back out of that and to actually have just a meteoric rise to being one of the best in the NFL, that'd be a fantastic story. And I'm all for that. I would like to see that. I would absolutely love to see that. My problem is that I haven't seen evidence that's happening yet. And then once I do, I'm all for it. Again, to Cody's point, even in his best season, he was and this sounds super messed up, but he was mediocre, right? He was never a top NFL player in the NFL.
The truth. It's just the truth.
Yeah. And statistics will show that. Any type of film you pull up, you might see a great play every now and again, but there was not enough evidence to show that he is going to be an answer to shoulder, as you said, an entire team, especially in a rebuild phase as we are. We don't have the offensive line answer, right?
And I don't know about you all, about you, CK, and you, Tony, and anyone else in the chat room or anyone else listening, but I have my hopes for this season are lower than they ever have been going into any season the past 10 years. That I've been following the Panthers, just because of everything I've already mentioned. So much turnaround, new systems, young players, and a quarterback. Like, listen, man, Cam Newton brought me back to professional football. He's one of my all-time favorite players ever, and he's been the starter on this team since I've been a fan. I love Cam Newton. Well, now that guy is gone, and we have a quarterback that no one really knows if he's a starter. Everyone's just pulling for him and hoping and praying that he is. And that doesn't elicit a lot of excitement for this upcoming season, especially when you do know that these franchise-changing quarterbacks are right on the other end. They're in next year's draft, man. There might be 2 or 3 of them. And I know that's all hearsay, and that's here and now, and people have to play in the NFL to prove their worth. But, man, what a Trevor Lawrence would do for this team, or a Justin Fields. I mean, it could be incredible. So, I don't know. I'm not too amped about this season, but maybe that will change as we get closer to season kickoff.
So while you guys have been talking, I've been also looking around trying to find things to talk about. So I'm on Google News, and they know I watch only Panthers when I go to the NFL. So I put up a bunch of stories about the Panthers and some things, and then it gets into the broader league. So I click on this story: 20 NFL rookies who can make instant impacts in 2020 season. I think that's the wrong use of impact. Maybe I'm gonna look up if it's a noun. But anyway, so looking for something, and I thought, man, there's only 32 teams. 20 out of 32, you got good odds to be on that list. Guess what? Panthers didn't even make the damn list.
Didn't even make the...
Oh, man, this is so bored. We're so bored right now when talking about football. We can't even make a 20 NFL rookies who can make instant impacts in 2020 season, and we had a top 10 pick. I think our rookie will make an impact. It's just not, I guess, as cool as talking about... Let's see who number 20 was. This is messed up. Indianapolis Colts kicker Rodrigo Blankenship, undrafted, is number 20. What is this? They're running out of things to talk about. Los Angeles Chargers wide. So I guess they're just trying to find rookies all over.
Isn't that the same article that mentioned that Jeremy Chin had like this crazy Hall of Fame potential, like based off his numbers? Yeah, that was on the Reddit. Hold on, I have it up. I'll find it.
I did see people talking about Jeremy Chin. So it is
ESPN Analytics ranked Jeremy Chin as the highest chance to be Pro Bowler of all rookie defensive backs. So That's a pretty damn good one. I mean, a lot of people were in our chat room, people that had seen him were giving him Troy Polamalu comparisons.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would be incredible. I mean, Jeremy Chin, he's the reason why I'm more okay that the Panthers didn't select Isaiah Simmons, even though I felt Isaiah Simmons would have been perfect for a football team for this division. Jeremy Chin is I'm telling you, man, we're going to be saying that name for a long time to come. Like, you're going to be able to build part of your defense around him. He has the physical potential. He has to prove it. But, I mean, we definitely have young players to be excited about, Tony. But we just don't know that we have the base foundation to be a great team this year.
Here's some names on this list: 20 rookies. Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson. I guess they have, when you get put alongside Thielen, it's a good place for you to learn, for you to cut your teeth. What about Patrick Queen? How's he going to be for the Ravens? Are the Ravens going to have another beat your ass defense?
Yeah,
I feel
man,
like the
they're coming to
Ravens
get
are
your
really
ass.
loaded, man.
Yeah, Patrick Queen is the sideline linebacker. They're going to put him at Mike and just let him roam. Although I think it's an inside linebacker because they run a 3-4, I believe. But yeah, just fast, strong, speedy linebackers. Patrick Queen was my he was my third rated linebacker of this past draft class. So he was a good one.
Number 8 on the list is New York Giants safety Xavier McKinney. What do you think about? He goes 36. Where did we get Shin at? Later? Was it like the third?
69th overall pick.
What do you think about these two players put together? When you think about them, Xavier McKinney. It's kind of it says this: the type of new age defensive back who can play deep or in the box or cover the slot. McKinney has a reputation as an alpha who could stabilize the defense, which was especially vulnerable on the back end. Potentially a better version of Giants' predecessor, Landon Collins. Some pretty glowing praise right there. How does Shin match up to somebody like Xavier McKinney?
Well, so part of it is you have to understand that the discussion that they had around Isaiah Simmons was similar to what they're having about Jeremy Chin. So Jeremy Chin is kind of a positionless player, kind of is good at all of them, but a master of none. He needs a lot of refinement. Also, there's a big difference, Tony, between playing at Southern Illinois University and Alabama like Xavier McKinney did. So that's part of the reason for a slide. Xavier McKinney did it against much better competition, and Southern Illinois, hasn't. I don't know how many professional players they've ever put out before, but I mean, just from a physical perspective, this is Matt Rule written all over it. This is that type of athletic hybrid football player that Matt Rule and Phil Snow want to get their hands on and teach
make
them
an Xavier McKinney essentially.
Yeah, and make them even better,
Right.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
All right, so here's another interest. I'm just kind of into this, comparing other safeties who were drafted to Chin. Cleveland Browns, Grant Delpit. Delpit won the Thorpe Award,
Yeah,
right?
I was so much higher on him than everyone else. He was in my top 15.
Says last, I guess he had a high ankle sprain and too many missed tackles is what they said. Healthy again. Yeah. He's good to be the playmaker. So you're sitting around there, and these are all guys are going before us. Man, look at this. Another one. Tampa Bay Buccaneers safety Antoine Winfield Jr. It almost like there is a damn run. Yeah, there was a real run in the 30s and 40s on these safeties.
Yeah, and a lot of them were thought to go higher. McKinney and Delpit got a lot of first round talk, and it just kind of never panned out for him. A lot of Grant Delpit's misses came, in my opinion, from him, one, being injured, and two, playing him out of position. So just playing him in the box where he shouldn't be, at nickel, even at linebacker, that wasn't good for him. He's the type of player you put him at free safety, let him flow to the football, and he's going to be another Eddie Jackson, Earl Thomas type of player. In my opinion, that's what I think and thought of him. But, yeah, when you're able to grab a player like that in the second and third round, I mean, that's a value. I was hoping that we would have picked up one of those guys. But I'm happy with Jeremy Chin. We're going to see if Matt Rule and Phil Snow are able to, if they're, put it this way, if their bite is as bad as their bark. Because their bark, they've been talking about molding athletic players into real football players and teaching them the ropes. And that's what they're going to have to do with Jeremy.
says this. I thought another comparison right here is when did we got Troy Pride 113th pick. Okay. Now on this not SI, it is, whose list is this? Where the hell did it go? Oh, it's USA Today. So what did I say? 117th. How does he stack up against New York Jets cornerback Bryce Hall, who was selected in the 5th at 158th? He says they think that he could have an impact. A former receiver. He's 6'1", so he's bigger than Troy Pride, 200 pounds, and he is desirable by defensive backfield standards, and so are his ball skills. He broke up an FBS leading 22 passes in 2018. Ankle injury ruined his senior season, but he could be primed for a major comeback. You know, I guess I'm searching for some comparisons here of some things to talk about, but Troy Pride Jr. seems like a different player than that, right?
Yeah, and Bryce Hall was one of these people that was he was supposed to be the number one corner, last year going into that season. But man, they just played him in off coverage so much.
What, Bryce Hall?
If you're gonna draft a corner, you want to see him man some dudes up at least once in a while, right? So and you never saw that much from him. They played him off the football so much, even though he has all the athleticism and the traits. It was hard for me to justify him. Saying, oh, well, yeah, he'll be able to hold up against a Julio Jones or a Michael Thomas and have those same results. Like, you have to be able to play man and zone. And when I see you play zone all the time, that's kind of a red flag for me. So even though Bryce Hall is a better athlete, Troy Pride did more. There were plays where, he was all on the football. He made some good plays in the Clemson game when they went to the playoffs. Like, the dude has a lot of traits. His bad plays are bad, but they don't happen very often. And he is faster. He's a 4.4 guy. Again, Panther Nasty in the chat.
Which, by the way, that's a superstar sighting right there. What's up, Willie P? Panther Nasty, man, it's good to see you back.
Oh, yeah, Panther Nasty has a good point. It says Carolina has 3 advantages: speed, athleticism, and unpredictability. And really, that's a mouthful right there, man, because that's what we're trying to do. If you look at everything from our defensive line to our offense and our receivers, athleticism, speed, we're trying to put that on both sides of the football. And unpredictability. Yeah, right now, no one knows what to think of the Carolina Panthers. That includes other football teams in the NFL that don't know what the Panthers are going to be this year.
Tyler Duncan says the Riot Report has a really good detailed article talking about Snow running a lot of 3 safety defenses. Makes sense with drafting Chin and Robinson and re-signing Boston and signing Burris.
Yeah.
I guess what do you play him in the nickel? Is that what that is? Is that a 3 safety defense? Yeah. Is you have 5 defensive backs, but 3 and 2 rather than 3 corners and 2 safeties?
Well, yeah, you can have a nickel safety, a strong safety, and a high safety. You can have a little bit of both and go 2. There's a lot of different sets. You can go, 2 safeties and 2 linebackers. You can do a few different things. And when you look at our draft choices, the versatility is what jumps out at you. Is that a lot of these guys, even Kenny Robinson, you can envision them kind of putting him at another position and him getting a feel for that. So again, it goes back to Matt Rule just saying he wants athletes, he wants to build them, he wants to mold them.
All right, well, look, there's really let's go ahead and get into the cat calls. The number's 252-228-5098. Let's see what you guys got to say about what's going on in the NFL with the Carolina Panthers.
So what are your thoughts on cat calls? Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
and how y'all doing? G Cavassier. Hope everyone's staying safe with this corona shit that's going around. Hey, usually I call you guys and I try to get my little take on everything. But tonight I'm going to do a quick little segment, and you guys can comment about this when you're done. But this is my perspective and the what if. Okay, number one, what if we do make the damn playoffs, okay? Let's just say we make the playoffs within the next 2 to 3 years, okay? My opinion, if that's the case, don't be surprised if people don't start trying to get Tom Brady as their head coach or offensive coordinator, okay? That's number one, what if. Number two, what if our defense is in the top 10?
I think he's talking about Joe
for the
Brady.
next 3 years. For the next 3 years, our defense is in the top 10. Don't be surprised, man. This is just my opinion, but don't be surprised if people don't try to come after Phil Snow. Because you know the NFL, they're good for shit like that. And that tends to happen to Carolina a lot, too. I mean...
And they're
go
not
on and
black.
on.
So
Sean
you don't even
McDermott,
have
I think that was
to.
the defensive coordinator from 2015.
So
and
messed
a
up.
couple years before that. he
Without
was
context,
good
that
in
sounds so
Buffalo.
fucked up.
It does, but we
So,
were talking
and the
about this
last
earlier
one,
show, guys. We're
what
talking
if?
about the new rules.
What if Teddy Bridgewater gets hurt? Do you think they'll put all their eggs in the basket for Will Greer, or would they bite the damn bullet and try to get Cam to come back to Carolina?
I thought about this
what
too,
if,
man.
But hey, let the conspiracy start now. You know,
Speak on
hopefully,
that, Cody.
You know, Teddy Bridgewater doesn't get hurt, nothing like that. But give me a take on that, and always remember, y'all, keep pounding.
Keep pounding. G. Cavassier bringing the heat
I know,
on
he's
a night
better.
when there ain't shit to talk about, son. Hell yeah, G. We appreciate that energy, man. But he had 3 what ifs. And
One was
I
Joe
think-
Brady and
Oh.
finding success, becoming offensive coordinator, head coach. Everybody
We should
believes.
answer all of them since he's added so much with just one cat call.
Yeah. So that's the
the-
trajectory that everybody who believes Joe Brady's going to work believes is going to happen, right?
Yeah. So I want to answer him, and then I want to pose some questions to you guys because he made me think of 2 things that I've been kind of mulling over in the back of my mind, right? But his number one what if, and you all know my favorite saying about what if, you know, what if my aunt had nuts? She'd be my uncle, right? So they're all what ifs. But what if the Panthers are a playoff team? I mean, man, so much of it depends on, you know, did we squeak into the playoffs just narrowly, or we, you know, is it a wild card scenario? Have we dominated the NFC South? That would be very. I'll just say this: it'd be very surprising to me. I don't know about you guys, but I would be. I mean, it'd be a pleasant surprise, but I would be very surprised if this roster, you know, is a playoff football team.
But if it is, that's the exact reason Joe Brady gets hired as a head coach.
Oh, I love that. So that's going to lead into one of my other questions. Okay, his number 2 was, what if our defense for the next 3 years is like a nasty, just savage defense?
I think it's going to be hard I think it'll be easier for Joe Brady to climb the ranks because he's young and he has this. Is that I think that Snow is already in his 60s, I believe, or you know, and
that's my thought too.
I think that Snow's kind of locked in with Rule until it doesn't work anymore, and Rule has to cut him before he cuts himself. But the other thing is that when we've been talking about the Panthers hiring coaches, we had talked about it so long before Matt Rule was hired. I've always kind of tended to just feel safe and comfortable. You know, all I've known, actually, to be honest, I'm thinking back on this, is the reason I was okay with Rivera, okay with ideas. Like, I wasn't going after the next new thing necessarily, is because I understand a defensive coach. They feel safe to me because that's all I've known my whole life. John Fox, Ron Rivera, the whole thing. But the limitation that we came to, or the conundrum facing defensive head coaches in the NFL, is that so much of their success is contingent on really having a offensive mind that they can give a lot of latitude to, that they can say, show me how fantastic you can be. And that's awesome for a moment until that person is no longer a coordinator and is now a head coach. And it leaves you searching for that replacement. And obviously, Mike Shula wasn't that for us, and he moved on. It wasn't like Ron Rivera had a brilliant offensive mind. But what comes to mind is Atlanta, Dan Quinn, and Kyle Shanahan. Is that Dan Quinn and the Atlanta Falcons looked like they were going to dominate the NFL when Quinn came in there with Shanahan. But then Kyle moves on, and it's become a revolving door of coordinators. So what happens then if Joe Brady moves on? And that's why I think it's just easier for offensive guys to move on and less advantageous for the Giants, say, to hire. It would be like a hire the Giants would make in 2 years. Like, let's get Phil Snow after we got Joe Judge and it didn't work.
Well, but hold on. Let's expand on that just a little bit. On that specifically,
Let me get a new beer, so talk to CK.
Well,
all right.
Is he here? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, CK, let's talk about this, right? So Phil Snow has been with Matt Rule at every single stop. And Phil Snow is an older gentleman. So if we have some crazy defense and our defense is just kicking ass, I mean, it's kind of hard to see a scenario at this point, where Phil Snow decides to break off on his own and go be a head coach somewhere else. I mean, I kind of feel like his comfortable coaching with Matt Rule, and that was part of the reason why he decided to come here. But let me also pose this to you. And this is something I want to ask Tony too when he comes back. Man, think of it this way: Joe Brady is 30 years old. CK, me and you are the same age as the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. Okay,
It makes me sad, actually.
Yeah, dude, it does me too. You're not alone, man. But put it to you this way, man: if you're the owner of an NFL football team, are you going to hire a 31 or a 32-year-old to be your head coach? Like, let's say Joe Brady lights the NFL on fire, just like he did in college football at LSU. How long is it going to – I mean, is Joe Brady going to have an offer to be a head coach somewhere the very next year after? How many people are going to be clamoring to hire a 31, 32-year-old quarterback? I mean, that is young for a head coach. That all kind of brings me to say, like, there's a possibility that if Phil Snow has a badass defense and Joe Brady has a badass offense, that we might be in a scenario where neither of those two are going to be poached for maybe a few years, regardless of the success that they have. I mean, the Panthers could be in that kind of scenario.
But the thing is I think that Joe Brady would be an immediate, like, if he has a good year this year with what we have, right? I could see a scenario where somebody tries to come in and hire him as their head coach.
Or maybe 2 years.
At every level, he would have had success.
Say that we're pretty good this year and then we kick ass next year. Like a big giant improvement. The offense is like putting up 40 points. Then I think there's going to be reservations with hiring a 30-year-old kid that is.
Okay, so Tony, let me repeat it, because that's what I was just saying to CK, and I want you to hear it too. Like, let's say Joe Brady is incredible and starts lighting up the NFL like Shanahan did and like he did at LSU. How many NFL football teams do you think are really going to hand over the reins of their football team to a 31, 32-year-old guy? And then I was mentioning earlier before that, the reason I coupled this together is Phil Snow has never been with anyone other than Matt Rule. So we might be, and he's an older gentleman too, so we might be in a scenario where our defensive coordinator is too old to go and be a head coach somewhere, and our offensive coordinator is too young. So we might have both of them here for, potentially the next 3 or 4 years. That's not out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion.
It looks like this is that McDaniels took over offensive play calls for the New England Patriots in 2005 after Charlie Weiss left. Through 2007, he's at the helm of their off. He had that offense where that wasn't with Randy, was it? And he was hired in 2009. So the timeline for Josh McDaniels to go to the Denver Broncos was he was a sensational offensive coordinator for the Patriots from 05 through 08. So if you kind of follow that sort of trajectory, that gives you a 3-year timeline, talking about 2024. But that also would entail you being the Patriots. The other thing, though, Cody, I think to answer your question about what is determinant of that is that, like, what we've got two ranges. We've got CK seeing that he could be gone in as little as a year, maybe, or because there's only one way up. He's offensive coordinator, so the only way up is head coaching job. Or the other range that he's going to go slow. I think part of it isn't just determined what Matt Rule and his staff and Joe Brady are doing. I think it's also determined by like what's going on in the league. You might want to look and see how the Rams look at the end of the year. How teams, what is Arizona doing? What is these teams that have tried this, hire these guys out of nowhere, not out of nowhere, but based on their potential rather than their production, maybe in some ways.
Yeah.
Is that if that's hitting at the moment, then it's more attractive. If those guys are failing at the moment. So right now, I mean, look, Cliff Kingsbury, people are looking at, like, the guys have worked right now in the league for the most part. Sean McVay is the least successful now out of all of them, it seems like. Like, no one's talking about the Rams. Like, if you think about it, like, Sean
McVay has been to the playoffs and the Super Bowl.
I know, but, like, we're not even thinking, like, they're that good anymore. So if he can bounce back, if Arizona's offense is looking sick, then it just makes you feel better, about what the old hats say. Like, you need experience. You need to go, well, look at these guys. But if those guys are doing shitty throughout the league, that would build up your reservations about Joe Brady.
Yeah, well, but again, also the difference is those guys have been head coaches at other places before, and they were a little bit older than him. So, you have to think there's a difference between drawing up the X's and O's and doing, game plans and scheming for an offensive system. But then can you be a leader of men? Like, that's a whole different thing. And there are guys that are better as coordinators than they are head coaches. And like, I'm trying to think of it from this perspective. I just said me and CK are the same age as Joe Brady, right? Dude, if I was the offensive coordinator and for a football team, I would be in no rush to want to go be an NFL head coach. And that's my main point. Joe Brady is kind of in a position where he can sit back and learn the ropes, have free reins of an entire NFL offense, and have a few seasons to grow and get even better and better and learn the ropes from Matt Rule and become the best version of himself by the time he's, 33, 34 years old, which is still incredibly young to be a head coach. Like, man, it could be such a blessing in disguise having such a wonderkind, smart offensive coordinator at such a young age, because we might have the opportunity to have him for a little while without him being poached.
Joe Judge, the head of he's the head coach for the New York Giants. He's 38, turning 39. He's a month younger than me. He spent 8 seasons working as an assistant coach. I don't think he was at the top for many of those. So you're right. It's like Joe Brady's kind of got a good gig with a head coach who's got a run ahead of him. So the other thing is that, like, he's got 4 or 5 years to ride out this.
Yeah.
before, and the worst thing is to jump ship on that and jump on another team and then them cut bait and then you're looking for a job. Matt Rule's moved on, that type of thing. I don't know. It's a good, interesting point. But you can see this is that it's not. I could see Phil Snow retiring from football with Matt Rule and the Panthers. Obviously, that's not going to happen with Joe Brady. Or what if he's the Matt Rule heir apparent in 7 years, and we fire Matt Rule and hire Joe Brady?
Well, but at a certain point, I mean, so that'd be 7 years from now. If he has a bunch of success in that meantime, do NFL teams at some point, whether it be next year, the year after, or whatever, they're going to be beating down his door. They're going to want some of that magic Joe Brady juice too. So, I mean, it would be another Robert Kraft, Josh McDaniels scenario where maybe Tepper comes to him and nudges him a little bit and is like, hey, man, if you hang on for a little bit, I mean, dude, heavens forbid we get a quarterback next year and Joe Brady has like a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields for the next how many years? Dude, that could be one of the best scenarios that you would ever want to be in. And then Joe Brady could just sit back and wait for the perfect coaching job to fall in front of him. But it would have to be a lot of money to stay for 7 years to be here after Matt Rule.
Do you think that Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence are the only answer? Patrick Mahomes was a 12th pick or whatever.
Yeah, there are people that come out of the woodwork all the time. I mean, people can surprise you. It's not like another quarterback couldn't surprise you. His name escapes me off the top of my head, but the quarterback this year from North Dakota State is being talked about as a first-round pick. Also, threw over 30 touchdowns and no interceptions last year. He's looking to be a big name too. But, I mean, you're either talking about free agency or Teddy Bridgewater is incredible and he blows all of our expectations out of the water, or you're bad enough to get a franchise-altering quarterback in the top 5.
All right, so we've talked about one or two. What's the second scenario from
Trey Lance? Thank you, Demetrius. Trey Lance from North Dakota.
That is the second scenario was Teddy Bridgewater getting hurt, and either we throw all our cards in on Will Grier, or we bite the bullet and get Cam Newton back.
That's never happening. Cam's mad at the Panthers.
But, dude, if you're Cam Newton and the Panthers came to you and they were like, hey, save our season, say no team has picked him up. Let's say Panthers guy FSU is right. We go 5-0 and we're rolling. Cam Newton is still on the market. Teddy Bridgewater goes down. Like, is there no chance that Hernia and David Tepper swallow their pride and call Cam Newton?
There's no reason to. At that point, we should be just tank. At that point, you should just tank because there's no long-term solution with Cam.
But I mean,
are you saying we're 5-0 and then you're like trying to run it? Like that seems. These are a lot of nuts on my aunt.
I mean, that's why I say like I agree. I think that rolling over and saying that we're going to go back to Cam is not going to happen. I think they'd much rather tank and try to get the next person that they can say is theirs. It's kind of like Tepper coming in and making the decision to, kind of change everything, flip everything on its head, right? He wanted everything to have his own little touch. I think Matt Rule's going to have a little bit of the same, right? And we're already seeing that. We're seeing his fingerprints all over this team now. So no, I think it is. As much as I'd love the idea of being able to hope that Cam Newton finds his way back to the Panthers, Cam Newton's days as a Panther is long gone. And if anything, the only time we're ever seeing Cam Newton again is when he gets to come and play against us. The thing is that we have two teams that I've said that we have to face this year that very likely could be in the running for Cam Newton still, and that is the Redskins, which would be an interesting situation with Cam going to meet, to I guess reunite with with Ron Rivera, or up to Chicago, where it seems like a lot of the
Three
pieces are in place up
scenarios.
there.
New England is still on the table.
I think at this point, based on what I've heard, and
NBC
I know
Sports
you can't
has an
really take a
article
lot.
right now that says it, which I don't mean like they could have just made it up anyway. Like
I mean, most of them are all saying that he'd be a great fit. I honestly think, based on everything and again, this is the Patriots, so they may be playing chess. I mean, for whatever reason, they believe in Stidham.
They're the betting favorites to land Cam right now. Patriots odds to sign Newton are plus 300. The next are the Steelers at 500, followed by the Washington Redskins at plus 700. So
I think the Steelers would be an amazing spot for him. I think that would be the best place that he could go. Because the Steelers are going to let him be Cam. You know, they're not going to restrict him from being able to do his celebrations. I mean, let's be honest, they dealt with AB for a long time. They've had a long history of having celebrations and having a very, energetic team, right? The Patriots are not that way. Let's be honest. If he's going to choose between the Steelers and the Patriots, he's going Steelers all day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know though. The Patriots have been so dominant, and I think if you're Cam, part of the criticisms that you have to hear are people saying, "Oh, you can only run certain styles or certain kinds of offense," which is total bullshit. That's people who don't know football say that and just spout the opinions that they hear on ESPN and Fox. But if I'm Cam, I want to flex my muscles and go to the Patriots. But I do agree with CK. If I'm Cam Newton, the Steelers, when's the last time Ben Roethlisberger has ever played one season without getting hurt in some shape or fashion?
If you're going to have to sign as a backup, that is the one place you're going to be able to go and actually start. And if it is a sitting, if it's miraculously happening to where Ben Roethlisberger makes it through the entire season, you can't imagine he's getting much farther beyond this year, right? I mean,
they make fun of Ben Roethlisberger so much about how he doesn't work out. Like, I heard somebody on the radio who was like and I feel like the beat reporters try to keep it respectable a lot of times. But the guy said something to the effect of Ben Roethlisberger's off-season workout schedule consists of drinking beer, going to the pool, and like going to the nightclub or something. Like, it was like he might go to the gym for like 12 minutes. He doesn't work out. Cam is the opposite of that. I think Cam doesn't want to sign behind a team. Like, what happens if he signs with the damn Steelers and then somebody gets hurt for, like, say, the Bears? You could, and then you got to sit there and wait while some other schmuck gets that job. Tommy Doc Martin says Josh Allen gets hurt in Buffalo and McDermott pounces. Official Panthers North, done and done. There's an argument to be made that it wouldn't be a bad idea for them just to sign and start Cam. Right? I mean, that team is built a lot like, I feel like, the 2015 Panthers were. A mix of young and old. But they do have... Ed Oliver got arrested. You guys see that?
Yeah,
poor guy. He was just like driving home from fishing or something with but open container.
Yeah, and he had like a gun in the car. Yeah, it's just people aren't moving smart, man.
These guys are these. It feels like the NFL players are losing their mind being quarantined.
Well, I think it's too because some of the stories have been a little bit more bizarre. Like, I'm okay. Like, the Ed Oliver is the story I understand. Right? Like, I get that one. Like, it seems like my man was, like, fishing. He was pulling the boat. They've been drinking booze a little bit. But you know, he went through like a damn work. See, the construction zone, man, that's what'll get you. It's like normally a 65, and he was going 60 probably in a 45. He did have a gun on him, you know, questions about whether or not it's his or some things. But see, these are all crimes I understand. It's the other ones that have been fucking weird, dude. And the most concerning to me, so we had Earl Thomas, right? The problems with Earl Thomas. Did we ever talk about that on this show? I think we did last week. About how his brother and him were sharing this girl, and his girlfriend busted up in. Then you get the other story of DeAndre Baker and Quentin Dunbar. Now, we don't know. It sounds so outlandish. It was so unbelievable and weird that it had to be true, but some people are refuting it. But that they ran up 70, they lost a bunch of money in some poker games or something, and then were at a party and then tried to rob it. So you're like, and then sped off in like a Ferrari and a Lambo or something like that. And then,
then apparently
it gets even worse.
Go ahead.
And it gets even worse with this Latimer, Cody Latimer story that is hit. He was drafted, and I feel like we used to talk about this player a little bit as a potential draft pick. You know what I'm saying? Cody, the name kind of feels familiar. Maybe this was back when Mel Mayock was still around. But Latimer is arrested for getting in a fight, also an argument at a poker game. Like, so these guys are playing cards, they're gambling, they're drinking, obviously having a party or something. And he gets into a fight, basically. It's unclear why he's fighting. They say like he seemed like he was okay after he emptied the clip, which I don't know what that meant. Like, did he like pull the bullets out, or did he like just be like, blah, 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 I feel better. But then he shot at this dude in this house. But that's not the weird part of the story. Like, it's like this. They just say in this, they're like, also, his son has reportedly been penetrated by someone at the party. His son is 4. Like, they just throw it in there. Like, to me, that's more of not a story. Like, I want to think about it more, but like, then like, what the hell? Was he shooting at a guy who he found penetrating? What kind of...
It makes me a bigger supporter of Cody Latimer.
Nah, because you know that he didn't do it over that, because if he did, you wouldn't have shot at somebody. You would have shot somebody.
It's just tough, man. Maybe
like, I would kill somebody. I wouldn't miss. You wouldn't be able to like settle me down too. That's what it was like. After Latimer got settled down, he then got upset again. So I don't think it was like him defending his sons. I haven't seen any of that. But they didn't really talk about it at all. It's just like, God, we got Earl Thomas and his brother, three-waying it with girls, getting chased by their wife. But this is
held
like,
at gunpoint. Yeah.
What did they just throw this kid in the back room? And then like, what kind of fuckheads are you around? Ugh.
It's pretty stupid, but I don't know.
Just
when you surround yourself
terrible.
with dumbasses, it doesn't surprise me when you make dumbass decisions.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The reason I brought it up is because I saw a story that was, this is on Washington, NBC Sports Washington. Cody Latimer's arrest tests Ron Rivera's culture rebuild of the Redskins.
Again, that's not fair either, dude. Ron Rivera hasn't even been there a year, man. You don't build a culture overnight. You're still dealing with everyone else that was already on the roster. I mean,
first challenge to culture rebuild. How about that?
By the way, Tommy Doc Martin says there's only 30 people watching. What the hell happened around here? It's called the off season, bro. If you want to pay for the strippers, then send them on.
I'm actually pretty impressed we got 30 on a night like this.
Yeah,
here's the thing, guys. You guys start throwing You guys start throwing like 20 bombs. I mean, we'll do OnlyFans stuff, like for real.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
dude,
hire strippers. I'll hire.
Like,
dude,
I'll show
I'll-
you my pinky toe.
Dude, hey, I'll lick the beard off of CK's face. I mean, what do you want me to do?
Corona be damned.
All
Dude,
right.
make this shit interesting. I'll put on a show.
Let's go
Tell
to the
me
next
about
call. Oh, let's get through these calls and get out of here. Come on. Play, sucker. Or do not play. Play or do not play.
What's going on, C3 Nation? This is Jay Anderson calling y'all.
What's
See
up,
how
Jay?
y'all doing and everything. It's a slow. I know it's a slow news in Carolina in Panthers. With the Panthers and everything. But I got a question for y'all. I've been watching a lot of games, the 2013 and the 2015
I
Carolina
love
Panthers.
the 2013
I want to know
Panthers.
what y'all think. Do y'all think the 2013 Carolina Panthers defense should get more respect than
Yes.
the 2015
Yes.
Carolina Panthers
Yes.
defense? Want to hear y'all thoughts on that.
100% is the 2013 defense for a while in that season. You know how you guys they tried to throw out in the first couple of weeks of the 2015 season, 85 Bears stuff, but the defense from 2013 was like 85 Bears stuff the whole season. They were tremendous, and the offense was so limited that year. Is that what we went 12-4? We set a record for sacks that year, like 64 sacks in the season. It just was a monster year. That team just didn't have the pop on offense, and that's why in 2015 is that really the 2015 defense wasn't shut down. It was just very opportunistic. Is that there were times that they didn't hold. I think about like that Eagles game. And, there's a couple of times the Colts game, you're starting to wonder, is this are you seeing some holes? They're letting people come back and stuff. But right when you start to question it, it would be like pick. It would be turnover for positive yards. So I think the 2013 defense was far better than the 2015 defense. I think just that the 2015 defense had big plays, and then they would give it to Cam on the 25, and then we would score. So it was just so exciting even after, that was a problem in 2013 is that we would get a field goal after we got a turnover on the 45. In 2015, we would run it to the 35, and then Cam would bust it for a 30-yard run in like 2 plays, and it would be done. So that's my thoughts on it.
2013, in my opinion, was one of the nastiest defenses of the past decade.
Mike Mitchell.
Dude, Greg Hardy. How about that was the last real season that Charles Johnson was a badass like his old self. You had that was the first time that we got to see the tandem of K1 Short and Star Lotulelei in the middle. I mean, dude, our defensive line was vicious, man.
They were so sick. They were so sick. And Hardy I forget how dominant Hardy was as a player. How's he doing in UFC? He won, didn't he?
Yeah, he won. Yeah, dude. Greg Hardy has 8 fights now.
Can we all agree that Greg Hardy just ruined that defense?
I mean, I don't know. 2 years later, we were in the Super Bowl with a pretty good defense.
I know. The reason I say that is just think about what that would have looked like.
What it could have been. What it could have been. I think Ray Rice. I know I'm not gonna go too far down this road, but if Ray Rice wouldn't have happened at the same time Greg Hardy happened, Greg Hardy would still be in the NFL.
I agree.
Is that once you put that video up of Ray Rice knocking his fiance out, and then you have so then we only had some audio of some 911 calls or whatever or something like that. But Hardy didn't seem so out of, is that you can just make the story what you want to be when you don't see it. But when you see somebody And I secretly, and I hate to admit it, is I don't know how bad. I would really have to talk with the young lady and Greg Hardy to see how violent it got that night. But I know that when two people put themselves in a situation where they're drinking and doing drugs, like, things can get volatile quick. And demonizing one person for an event, I'm not saying they should be let off the hook. You just got to wonder how far it would have gone had that Ray Rice thing not happened. What's going on with Greg Hardy now? By the way, here are the stats. Actually, before you answer that, here are the stats from the 2013 team defense. This is fun. Let's see. How do we do it? Passing. How do I even read defensive stats? I don't even know how to read defensive stats. It's terrible. All right, well, tell us what Greg Hardy is while I try to figure this out. What's he like? He said he has like 8 fights right now.
Yeah, he is a professional fighter in the UFC. I'm trying to get his record right now. Yeah, he's 6-2 and 1 no contest. And that's in the UFC heavyweight division, man. I mean, Greg Hardy is a top tier athlete, even still. He's still got a lot to learn as far as MMA is concerned. But
isn't that a little surprising that because people thought it was a gimmick?
Yeah, I mean, he went to American Top Team in Coconut Creek, Florida, and they're one of the most respected MMA camps in the world, MMA gyms. They have a huge facility. So he moved down there to take it seriously. And he's been training full time and he's been knocking the shit out of people. I bet
you it's good for him, to be honest. Like, it probably keeps him grounded to be always training.
Yeah,
instead of like having a bunch of free times.
I wish more top tier athletes would actually decide to go into MMA as opposed to football. The problem is football has a promise of a lot more money a lot earlier. But when you're able to see some of these physical freaks fight in the octagon, I think it's better for some of them. Like Vontaze Burfict, always hurting people on the football field. Like, that guy should be fighting instead of on a football field. If you want to beat someone up that much, go dominate another man in a one-on-one fight. I think more football players should do it if their career doesn't work out and give you something else to transition to.
So there's quite a few that do.
Now, yeah.
All right, so I do want to. I got these stats up. Lost the window. Wherever ESPN. So the problem, I remember what happened to the Carolina Panthers. Why the Carolina Panthers defense of 2013 is not as well remembered as it should be is because of two factors. One is that Seattle's defense was statistically, it was even better. Yeah, it was better. At least statistically. I mean, we wanted to believe our defense. Their defense did what we did and had stars and had better numbers, right? They had a better secondary.
Yeah.
The Seattle Seahawks that year gave up 273 yards, 0.6. Now, the second point I wanted to point out was this. The other reason it's not well remembered is because I want to say, I'm trying to pull up when this was the case, but we were ahead of them. And then we had like one game where the rushing yards slipped out, one where, and we just inched behind just a hair. Because we gave up 301 yards per game. They gave up 273. We gave up 3,400 passing yards on the season. They gave up 2,700. This is where they were better. We gave up 214 passing yards per game. They gave up 172. Heads and shoulders better. We were way better against the run than they were. We were kick-ass against the run that year, dude. Teams averaged 86.9 yards per game against us. We only gave up 1,391 yards on the season. And here's where both of these teams were just head and shoulders better than the rest of the league, is they got stingy in the red zone. Seattle Seahawks ended up beating us out 14.4 points per game, while the Carolina Panthers allowed 15.1 points per game. And I'm just trying to figure out what game it was where this average would have changed. So let's see. Oh, and on top of that, I forgot about this. We started out 0-2 that year.
Yeah, I remember that.
We went 0-2. Then I was at this Giants game. Pretty sure. Yeah, I was at this Giants game where we blanked them 38-0 in week 3. And then it was so hot at that game, and they had the lights on. Why did they put the lights on at 1 o'clock when it's 97 degrees out? And when you're upstairs, you can feel the heat of the lights. So we then lose to the Arizona Cardinals, but then reel off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row.
8,
was it?
Yeah, that's right.
8. Lost to New Orleans. That was the game that screwed us. We lost 31-13, and that's what screwed up our defensive average. That was the most points allowed on the season, aside from 24 in week 2 to the Bills, and then in the in the playoffs we gave up 23 to the San Francisco 49ers. The problem is that we just actually, we were pretty damn good that year, man.
Yeah, well, I remember because it was after that. After we started 1-3, honestly, after we started 0-2, the hot seat stuff started with Ron Rivera, and that's what that week 4 is when we started to hear the mantra of Riverboat Ron, because he started to be more aggressive on 4th down. That was a short-lived aggression. I think we can all agree.
That was even the next year, I think, that he got like that.
No, I remember because it was the Bills game was so close, and we should have won that had he actually gone for a 4th down or something.
I always feel like it was that Cincinnati game that we tied, that everybody, like after that, he became the gambler. But he definitely, as we got good that year. Ron, that was the problem with early on in Ron's career. It would start slow and you would finish hot, and you would just remember the good stuff, And then
the Panthers have kind of always been like that, really.
Well, not in the last couple of years. So, like, even what worked for Ron to keep his job in bad years before didn't work anymore. Is kind of what I'm getting to there.
I mean, yeah.
Let me see what I'm gonna look up the stats for the 2015 defense. I bet you they're not even close to this.
I think maybe our passing numbers are better, but I think we were a better all around when you look at it from that perspective. We didn't have the same dominant pass rush, certainly, but
I think we didn't have the same dominant pass rush, but I think we were a little bit better everywhere else.
Yeah,
I think our defensive backfield was better. Josh Norman played his best football that year. He'll probably never play that good ever again. I love Jano, but I don't, he's clearly more of a zone corner. You had, Trey Boston back there at the time. What's the guy that we got from the, Kurt Coleman. What's the guy that we got from the Saints? Roman Harper. Roman Harper
was safety. We had Charles Tillman.
Excellent. Look, those numbers aren't that far off.
Demetrius Miller has a good point. His defense was godly at getting turnovers, and that included our linebacking core, TD, Shaq, and Luke. No, Shaq wasn't there yet. In 2015, it was a rookie.
Yeah.
So I mean, we were just a more well-rounded football team, and in 2013, we were just a dominant pass rush.
We gave up a little bit more points. We gave up 19.6 points, so a little there. We gave up just a little bit more yards everywhere. We were fantastic. We were 5th in the defense. We were fantastic against the run, just as good as 2013, 88.4 yards. We gave up 234, so that's really not very far off the mark. the top teams in the league. The Seahawks gave up 210 that year, which was what we were the year they were so awesome. And then you had that factor of, like you said, the turnover and like they were a scoring defense. So I guess you just got to say this is that you may take the 2013 Panthers defense alone over the 2015, just like straight alone, if you could have nothing else. But you definitely want that 2015 team and that 2015 season over that.
Yeah. By the way, I do think that it makes me feel better that we're going back to a 4-3, knowing that our best defensive seasons came as a 4-3. It just feels like
we've only seen a 4-3 for the Panthers for 20 years, man. We haven't run a 3-4 since like 2000.
It's familiar. You have to really put time and effort into a 3-4. Especially think amongst Panther fans. The 3-4 will get a bad rep just because it didn't produce a lot of results. But dude, not every 3-4 team has problems stopping the run like the Panthers have.
Well, I tell you, I used to hate playing 3-4 teams. I felt like the Panthers always were struggled against. Like you play against the Patriots,
and more people
not the Patriots, the Steelers.
And I don't mean to cut you off, CK, but more and more teams are doing it because it's a pass-happy NFL, and 3-4 is more about getting to the quarterback. So if you have guys like Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, and they're dropping dimes everywhere, you want to get to the quarterback. 3-4 is normally better for that.
Well, and the point that I wanted to make is, in order to be a 3-4, you have to be able to actually move the ball on offense, because you have to make sure the other team is playing from behind and has to be a pass-happy offense. You cannot let them get ahead and then let them just have to run the rock every time. It's not saying that you can't stop the run with that, but it makes it much more difficult when you're not loading the box, right? And that's what happens when you have a 3-4. I agree. I think 4-3 is definitely one that's going to allow you to be more well-rounded. The biggest thing is I think that we need to just honestly – I don't know. You guys go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know. I think that I almost feel like the 3-4, you just have to have such incredible athletes to run it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is not.
Now.
Well, yeah, but like, is that easy to sustain? Is that you have to have an edge guy who can kind of line up and rush as a D tackle and a edge guy, like a defensive end. But then you got to have defensive ends who are playing edge rushers and linebackers. And it's just so hard. How do you keep that up over the years? I don't know. We've never had any success with it, but teams always had success with it against us. So it's hard for me to conclude who is better against what in this NFL. Is that I just need us to not have the defense we had last year. I don't care if it's 5 and 7.
I'll say this: that defensive line is young, and I think it has more potential than it's ever have. Between Gross-Matos and Burns on both ends, now you have Derek Brown in the middle, who's just going to be just a powerful beast. I mean, even though you may or may not see the fruit of those efforts next year, it's going to be anyone's guess how good and cohesive that defensive line is. But I'll be damned if that doesn't have the potential to be one of the better pass rushers in all the NFL. And when you consider how fast our second level is, and our linebackers and our safeties are going to be, man, I'm telling you, our safety blitzes, I would say this. I would prepare Panther fans to see a defense that looked a little more like what Steve Wilkes was doing when he was the defensive coordinator for the Panthers. I think you're going to see more blitzes. I think you're going to see a lot more disguise looks with our defense. I think you're going to see some really fun, new, interesting looks on our defense that we haven't seen in a while. And we have the talent to pull it off to be one of the better defensive rosters in the NFL.
All right, next call.
I'm not expecting much this year.
Oh, this is Panther Nasty, man. What's up, bro?
Staff. and not enough time for the team to gel or interact with the players. But there's some opportunities because I don't think the NFC South is going to be as good as people think.
I don't blame him for that. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Falcons are kind of improving. Like, what have you done for me lately? Tampa Bay, everyone's talking up because of Brady and Gronk and Bruce Arians, and they have good pieces, but you have to see it work. And Atlanta's Atlanta. I don't need to say more.
Here's part 2 of the call, I think.
I think with the uncertainty of trying to game plan for Carolina and their new coaching staff and the speed we have and the difference in the quarterback, he's no Cam, but, he's better than nothing. He's really good at checking down. He's really good at reading defenses. I don't think the Bucs are going to be as good as people think. I think Tom Brady's not 28. He's 43 years old and getting older, and Gronkowski hasn't been able to stay healthy, and I don't think the Bucs are going to be as dominant as people think they are. I mean, the storyline is beautiful, so I don't blame the hype. But I don't think they're going to be what people think. And I think the Saints are definitely legit. But Atlanta's another team that they lost a lot of pieces. You just never know. But it's going to be kind of hard because there's so much uncertainty with Carolina, especially when you got to, rely on 4 rookies who won't have enough time with the coaching staff. But you just never know.
Yeah.
Keep pounding.
Panther Nasty, welcome back, homie. He's been out of hiding. We were at one point. We hadn't heard from Panther Nasty so long. Someone sent me a message in DM and said, "Are you do you think he's okay?" Right. So Panther Nasty, great to have you back on the C3 Panthers podcast, my man. We go back to the beginning. Panther Nasty was my second follower on Twitter. My second follower, number 2, and we've known each other since then. And I'm at over 6,500 followers now. So Panther Nasty's always supported C3 Panthers podcast. You can support it by smashing the thumbs up button, give us a subscribe, or just share the link with a single friend. Tell them that you listen to the longest running Panthers podcast on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. We would appreciate your support. Again, call into the Cat Calls line. The number's 252-228-5098. I've actually got 0 more football I want to talk about. I do think we should just talk for a moment because we went an hour and 37 minutes on nothing. And I was hoping we were going to talk about some things like this. Is like, what are you guys watching on TV right now? What are you doing? I had to start back to school this week. Yesterday was our day back. I've worked more in the last 2 days than I have in the last 12 because I was off for 12 days. But no, the beginning of the semester, I worked probably 17 hours yet. I mean, it was so long, 8 to 1:30 in the morning. I feel like, but it's cool. It's good. It's good for me. But I'm watching on Netflix. I gotta say is I found a cool series, but I'm also into just drama, murder type shit all the time, and it's called The Reckoning. And it's like a one-time 10-episode series about a serial killer type thing, and good acting, good storyline, big names in it. So that's what I've been getting on. And to update you guys on my JVCD marathon, which continues, this hat right here I bought off of eBay. It's Chun-Li. It says "You are next." No, I'm on Street Fighter right now. So I've been watching all of them in order. And Street Fighter, I'm at 14 films. And somebody talked shit about Street Fighter. They made a punchline of it a couple of weeks ago when I said I was doing the JVCD thing. And I got to say, Street Fighter so far has been fantastic. And I would argue that it's one of the better video game movies ever. And it's written by the guy that made Face Off is the guy that wrote it. He's done a lot. Oh, the guy that wrote the story for Die Hard is the one that wrote it. And I was going to ask you this, and this is the way I can turn it over to you, Cody. Is Street Fighter was such a kind of cool game. You got to wonder if it birthed a generation of kids more open to MMA after playing Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat all their childhoods.
Hell yeah, man. Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, Virtua Fighter. I mean, hey, we grew up playing that. I see CK shaking his head. Dude, we grew up playing that shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you weren't playing Tekken and Mortal Kombat and Virtual Fighter and Soul Calibur, dude, you were lame, man. And when
Soul
no one hanging
Calibur,
out
man.
with you, dude, Soul Calibur was the shit.
That was my
And-
jam. Out of all of
but-
it,
Oh, dude, hey, man, if you ever want to get some Soul Calibur going on your Twitch stream, I'll happily.
oh man, we might have to do that one day.
Dude, if y'all want to do some fighters, I'll happily whoop up on your asses for some for some Twitch viewers.
I would say I had a lot of them fun playing Tekken 3. Like Tekken 3 was like one of my favorite fighting games. But like Mortal Kombat. So I was thinking about this though when it came to the Street Fighter movie, right? So for the Street Fighter movie to be relatively good, and I think it's actually very good you had to make the whole story up. You had to make the entire story up. I mean, like at least Street Fighter did give you a lot of characters that had kind of things that you could read into, but it wonderfully weaves in every character from the game. Right, so it's kind of true to the game in a lot of ways that I think. But to me, I saw that Sonic the Hedgehog is a popular movie right now on the Stolen Video app I watch. I haven't watched it yet. I'm kind of interested in it. I want to because I love Sonic,
I
man.
just watched it.
Was it any good?
We were just talking about it. We were just talking about it, not the movie, but my son is into Sonic.
Oh, yeah, kids love Sonic because you just press forward and jump and you go 9,000 miles an hour and you're like, how can I do this?
Yeah. Well,
you got to be 8.
He has blue chalk, and he thought that if he colored himself blue, he would be Sonic.
Turns out he was blue and looked more like a Smurf than Sonic, huh?
Yeah, it didn't work out. But anyway, it's not bad. I mean, it's a kid's movie. I mean, there is no doubt about it. Jim Carrey, I think, does a pretty decent job at playing the Dr. Robotnik. And I wouldn't put it up there at a high quality. I would say that it's an entertaining movie. It's one that you can watch and enjoy. You're not going to be irritated like some movies you watch, where you're like, did you really even have to make this? But I wouldn't pay for it.
If you played Street Fighter,
the best fighting game movie of all time is Mortal Kombat.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yes, it is, and it's
Street Fighter. Street Fighter.
Dude, you just have a boner over Van Damme. Okay, that movie is so cornball.
It's not. Go back and watch it. Go back and watch it. I promise you. But I think they're kind of true both to their own games a little bit. Right? Yeah. Street Fighter was meant to be the fighting game that had more appeal to no blood. That thing. Remember, as Mortal Kombat was edgy and people died in it. Like you had finishing moves and stuff. So it was almost like Street Fighter was pitched to the 11 through 13-year-old. And it wasn't cheesy at all. It had good actors in it. It's not campy as you would think if you go back and watch it. I think, though, Mortal Kombat at that time period had a worse social reputation. Parents were worried about it a lot. And then you got to make the movie. And I would say that maybe Mortal Kombat had even more of a storyline to build off of from the game than Street Fighter.
Yeah.
To me, I think that's where the Street Fighter movie is actually pretty good. It's like, how did you actually do this when there wasn't really a storyline to the game? I think
that's why that's probably that way. I think that's why a lot of these games these movies made out of games don't succeed. There's a lack of the ability to be creative. At Street Fighter, you were able to create a story, and the characters were already created for you. Right?
Yeah.
So all you had to
You're
do
like, there's Vega, there's this. And they all looked like them from the game. It was all good, man. So I'm going to go back. I'm on this kick now. I'm going to go back and watch Mortal Kombat. I looked it up. What do you think the top video game movies are?
But see, well, I mean, the reason why most of them are bad is because so much of the important element of the story is playing as the character.
Yes.
And then you try and import it into another medium and it doesn't work.
It doesn't,
it's like,
because the buildup is so long, right? You've invested, as you said, you've immersed yourself in this environment, and a movie is an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe.
yeah,
right?
there's not enough character building.
Yes, exactly. That's one part, and I think it also, a movie leaves out so much of what you expect, right? If you go and watch Assassin's Creed, right? I think I had a lot of hope for that, because a lot of times these the I guess the lines get crossed is that the video game developers, that studio has nothing to do with the development of the movie, right?
Yeah.
And so they changed it up with Assassin's Creed. They were like, we want to be a part of the production of this movie. If that's not going to happen, we're not going to be, they're no go. That was, I don't know if you guys remember that. That was a part of an article that actually happened where Activision wanted to, Activision, right? No. Anyway, Ubisoft.
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft, yeah. We're saying we want to have this movie created. We want to sell the rights to somebody to be able to do an Assassin's Creed movie, but we want a hand in the development. And no studio would take it, would actually take them up on that. And finally, somebody did, and they still created a crap movie.
Yeah,
right?
And Assassin's Creed was the worst. They have no hero in their games that I think would be good for carrying a movie on their own by themselves.
And it's so much like let's be honest. If you play a more recent Assassin's Creed, if you don't know the background of Assassin's Creed, it's not nearly as fun, right?
Yeah.
And so with that movie, it felt like they just rewrote history. Like it was not even anything that was happening. The Animus was garbage. Like the stupidest
the whole thing was terrible.
This is why I think you guys got to give Street Fighter more credit. Is because look, is the movies, the video game movies that do translate are ones that innately are built around a story. Think about this: Resident Evil, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, Success. Super Mario Brothers actually has a storyline to it. Like the game, you're going to save the princess. It's got a linear feel to it. That's why maybe Assassin's Creed could give you that opportunity to fail. But don't you think it's far more difficult to make a movie based off a game like Sonic the Hedgehog? Or Sonic the Hedgehog has a simpler storyline than the Mario Brothers, and Street Fighter has nowhere in comparison to a storyline like Tomb Raider or
Sonic isn't harder to make because Sonic has been developed into TV shows and has
that's a good point. That's a good point.
That Sonic has been successfully transitioned into a medium like cartoons, like Saturday morning, cartoons, like I was saying. So I think that had a better chance of being successful than Super Mario. Right? There has not been a situation where Super Mario has been a successful series for anybody that anybody wanted to watch.
Go back
and even if you look at the movie for Mario, it wasn't Mario. Like they wanted to make it try to do certain things, but it was not Mario.
I can't even remember it.
Of all time, period.
Yeah,
not even just video game. The original Super Mario movie sucks so bad.
I don't even remember. I can't even remember it.
It has John Leguizamo as Luigi.
Oh, nice. I was thinking though, because I put on Street Fighter late last night, expecting it to be bad. Right,
that might be why you liked it though.
No, and it. What I would say is I was so impressed that the writing of it, and the guy's name is DeSouza. He's written Die Hard. He's written so many good things. Like he mixes kind of like a decent story with humor and action. Like kind of, it's not anything that's going to blow you out of the water. Like just Die Hard. We're not going to write about the screenplay of Die Hard forever, but it's a fantastic movie. But I was sitting there thinking, I was like, this shit is better than like the G.I. Joe movie that was made in 2000 or something. And I thought, man, what they had to work with gave you so much more opportunity. And this dude took Street Fighter and made it actually a watchable entertaining thing where he got good actors. The writing was pretty good. It was campy, but not campy. I remember G.I. Joe coming out thinking, oh my God, this is going to be the movie that gets me like what later got people with Iron Man. And it was such a flop. It was A grade special effects, B grade actors, and C grade writing.
Dude, do you remember they did Battleship with
Rihanna?
Oh, gosh.
It
was just the boy game, dude, you're grasping at straws at that point, man. Dude, yeah, so dumb. I don't know. Listen,
you can't build a franchise on Street Fighter. You could have built a franchise on G.I. Joe. So,
by the way, and I know that you're not aware of this, Tony, but the actual now that it's been years later, the actual story in Street Fighter is now way better and much more thought out than that movie.
I have to go back and play the game.
Lore.
Okay.
There's legitimate lore and characters and all kinds of different shit.
You want to know another bad movie that was transitioned from a video game more recently? Rampage.
Yeah, that made
I remember. Dude, I used to love Rampage. Man.
I did too.
I used to fuck up Rampage.
They just again shat on it with obviously The Rock was in it, so I mean there is some redeeming qualities in certain areas of the movie, but for the most part, it was garbage too. I mean, do you outside of the ones we've mentioned, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, what are good? And I know we're kind of stepping on Cody's, toes here by saying that, we're talking about video games. That's the Cripple Connection, right? That's what they do. So maybe we can bridge this into that. But is there actually a good movie? Let me take away good. Let's say, is there a great movie that was transitioned from a video game into film that you can think of?
Video game into film that was great.
Yeah,
dude, it's hard, man. It's hard to think of something else. Honestly, the best one that I can think of to this day that it was genuinely a good movie, in my opinion, was Mortal Kombat.
What about Resident Evil?
Mortal Kombat.
Resident Evil.
But also it has nothing to do with the story of the video game.
Yeah, those were two different. No,
okay.
Like if you ever played the original Resident Evil, it was much more. I almost want to say more dark than that, and it wasn't about like that. They created that to be almost sci-fi when Resident Evil, the game, was more horror based.
Yes.
Oh wow, they're gonna make here's one that's got a shot to be the best because I love this video game.
Oh Lord, okay.
Release date March 5th, 2021. Uncharted.
Oh.
Oh, but dude,
nobody's gonna know the people of it. It's just like I love the game. It's my favorite, one of my favorite games.
Well, that brings me to my next question. I mean, what did you guys think of Tomb Raider with not the more recent Tomb Raider, but with Angelina Jolie?
Yeah, I found them entertaining, especially since I hated the fucking games.
Yeah. No, dude,
I got
do nothing for me.
I would watch them because But here's the thing: that Tomb Raider game on PlayStation 1 back in the day, right?
Oh yeah.
I got Tomb Raider 3. I rented it from Blockbuster. I played it for like 3 hours, and could not get out of the first opening scene of the game. I took it back the same day. I was so frustrated. Like I needed a YouTube walkthrough so bad. Like I just couldn't find, and I was just walking around, swimming around, doing all this crazy shit. And I finally found this door. I was like, yes! It's like an hour and 45 minutes later. And then it was a trap and I died.
What game is this?
Tomb Raider 3, the hardest beginning of any game I just didn't even know what to do. It was just so.
By the way, to your original question though, the only thing I'm watching right now that I'm like hard on, like really, really into is Last Kingdom, which I'm almost done with that on Netflix.
Didn't they just come out with a new season?
Yeah, and I'm gonna finish that season tonight. And if any of you are into anime or even if you're not into anime, they have a show on Netflix called Parasite, and it is the creepiest, weirdest, yet coolest show I've seen in a long time.
It's not
It's
the
about a
movie that won Best Film?
No, this parasite takes over this high school kid's arm, and it's like an alien, and it can turn into like blades and weapons, and it starts talking to him, and he can't control it. But these other worms are taking over the brains of other people and causing these violent murders. It's actually really trippy and crazy. I highly recommend everyone.
And that's on Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix. It's called Parasite.
Is it new?
Yeah, well, the anime's been out for about 2 years, but it's on Netflix just now.
Wow. Okay.
Yes,
once
Bill.
you
Uhtred of Bebenberg.
I read the first 2 books of that series. So, like, they kind of moved a little better than the show did. I thought the show started slow in Last Kingdom, but I'll go check it back out. I wanted
They're based
to.
on books? I didn't even know this.
Yeah. They're kind of very similar to they're a little similar to Ken Follett books. Like he did. Actually, did Ken Follett write The Last Kingdom? I think he may have actually. Last Kingdom book. Last Kingdom book. That might be a Ken Follett series. Who wrote it? No, author. Oh, his name is Bernard Cornwell. Is the guy that wrote it. He also read. I read this other book that he had that was like on the. It was fiction. I mean, fiction, just like this is historical fiction, and it was real cool. And it was like on the people of Stonehenge time. So he's a good writer. The Last Kingdom are cool books. I just remember my favorite line from The Last Kingdom in the book. So Uhtred was originally an English dude that becomes a Viking dude that becomes an English dude, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So who's the guy that initially invades and kicks Uhtred's father's and brother's ass? It was like not Loki. It's whoever was in the same. Who's ever in basically Vikings is that
Ragnar.
Ragnar, yeah.
Well, his brother, yeah, and then he ended up living. Well, he adopted him essentially.
Yeah. So exactly. So him in this. So they're asking, like Ragnar wanted to stop conquering, like he was ready to stop fighting, and they asked him. They said, "Well, what do you want to do?" He said, "I want to get fat and bed women." It was feast. It was get fat, and you can fill in the alliteration. I just remember that. All right, let's see. So I'm watching. What did I say? The Reckoning, really cool. And Cody, what do you? CK, you watch anything?
I mean, honestly, I sit here and think about it, and no, I feel like all of my free time is either spent with the family or I'm actually trying to learn about
streaming
computers or the streaming or the video editing or something. So to be honest, I think that so much of my focus is on that. I haven't even been able to stay up to date with the podcasts I like to watch or I like to listen to.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's good. I'm learning so much as I'm going along. So if you guys ever need anything, I think I'm learning some stuff. I have some things to talk to you about after the stream too, Tony.
Okay. And what else was I going to say is that we got to do ice up picks. Oh, this is what the whole reason I brought up video games, Cody, was for you to put you on the trail for your show. Just saw a headline of a video game. I don't know if this would even be on y'all's radar. Fans are really unhappy with Predator Hunting Grounds.
Yeah, no, that would 100% be on our radar. By the way, if for some reason you're still this deep into the podcast after us not talking football for 30 minutes, I do a podcast with my friend Jeffrey Redmond every Friday called the Cripple Connection Podcast. This is done by 2 handsome-ass cripples like me and Jeffrey, but it's about video games, man, and that's the whole point of it all. And we're showing videos now of trailers and all kinds of different things. We're talking about everything. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, Cody Lashing, for all future content. We cover all that stuff. And
So write it down for your show.
Surprising me that Predator is disappointing. I
Right.
saw the trailers of it and the gameplay, and it just seemed like kind of every other ripoff that like it didn't seem like anything.
Just says one of the worst Sony titles this generation.
Yeah,
ouch.
it's dude, that's got to be pretty bad then, because
Predator Hunting Grounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that. I feel like it just to me feels like they should have just named it Predator 2. Like at that point.
I don't even know how a Predator game would be all that fun, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, like you want to be the Predator, but you also don't want to just like annihilate and hunt people. Like, what are you, just like hungry?
What was that one that was basically you were a predator? Was it Predator?
So yeah, they did an Alien versus Predator, where it's like you could be Predator or Alien, and you could fight each other on a few different levels. But yeah, then they did have a Predator game. I think it was another just first person.
Yeah, the one I'm thinking about is sort of like the Friday the 13th, where there is a hunter, where there's like this beast.
Yeah,
and it hunts you, and you as a like it's a multiplayer where the people try to stay away from the beast.
Right. One person loads in as Jason, and then everyone else has to run from him.
Exactly. But there is a game that's like that now.
Yeah, that's what Tony's talking about. That's the Hunting Grounds one.
No, there's a new one. There's one that's older that's already been out for a while. I'm trying to.
I thought that was the one. The Hunting Grounds that's the one I thought it was. Where it's a multiplayer and you play as either a normal Marine or whatever, or you played as the Predator. And that was the one that didn't look fun. It looked like it sucked.
Here's a video game movie for you, Hitman.
You know, I never saw Hitman.
Oh,
I actually like that. I was going to bring that up, but I felt like I might, make myself look stupid. But I did actually like that. I thought that was a good movie. Let me rephrase. I didn't like the newer one. I liked the Timothy Olyphant Hitman.
Yes, that's the one. That was good. All right. Okay, let's get to the ice up picks, guys. Where we tell somebody ice up, toughen up to get it together. I am going to ice up. I'm gonna ice up myself. I learned a lesson when you float a keg of beer. All right, and it runs out. Even if you close the handle to your beer spout, you gotta close your CO2 off, because I believe that since I just went and got a new keg today, and I was like, damn, this CO2 feels light. Hooked it up, completely empty. I wonder if an empty keg of beer just lets you pump CO2 into it, and then it slowly kind of leaks out of there somehow. So I'm icing myself up to remember to cut the CO2 off when the beer runs out for good, or else you'll get beer and you can't drink it.
Ice up.
Ice up.
Ice up.
Don't drink ice house.
CK, do you have
go ahead. I'll try to figure something out. Sorry. You guys remember, I get off work right.
Surprise. So again, to people who want to use Corona to get out of their debts, ice up.
Yeah.
Which is it a lot right now?
Mine is kind of low-hanging fruit, but I'm going to go after Michael Thomas. Dude, just shut up, man. Shut up. We get it. You think you're the best and your shit don't stink, man. You're annoying. All you do is make people dislike you. It was going... I don't even remember what happened. Someone had put Stephon Gilmore, or would you rather try and
it was the Parker from
Devontae Parker from the Dolphins. Would you rather try and defend Michael Thomas from catching a pass, or try and catch a pass with Devontae Parker on you? So then Michael Thomas instantly starts talking shit to Devontae Parker. And all Thomas does now is just start Twitter beefs. Like that's all he does is just talk shit to people online. To the point where it's like I feel even Saints fans are kind of like, dude, all right, we get it, man. You're tough. You believe in yourself, but shut up already, man. All you do is bitch about pointless shit. So yeah, man. To Michael Thomas, quit starting shit. Ice up, son.
Breaking news: Ferry Cavaliere ending amid divorce with Jay Cutler. Show canceled.
Did you hear what happened?
No. What? That he was just being lazy?
Yeah, she said she basically called the dude out. She said, "I'm divorcing him because he has no motivation and he's lazy." Like, oh my gosh, that is, I guess, the epitome of his career as a football player as well.
Yeah,
I guess. But.
Yeah, that's what everyone says about Jay Cutler. No motivation, lazy, whatever.
Goodness gracious! Man.
Ice up to Michael Thomas. What else we got? You got something for us, Cody? CK, I mean, nothing. Can't even ice your wife up for trying to buy the more expensive bed or whatever. It looks. Y'all were talking about buying like some trundle bed or something. And
we need to get our
like,
son
or you could do this one. The other one looks cheap. It's like, sucker, got toasted for another $200.
No, well, the other one's out of stock is the problem. The cheaper one's out of stock. I'm sure she would buy that one. The issue is, so what? Actually, here's what I'll say. I'll tell you a story, and then that'll be my part of the segment. We have been trying. So my son's birthday, he turns 4 in August. And before the summer's over, I'd like to get him a play set instead of waiting until the end of summer in August and actually getting him one. And so we started in April looking. What has happened, as you can imagine,
because there is people need to get play sets because their kids are at home.
And you cannot find them.
Play set shortage.
Sold out.
I have to come up there and we'll build it, dude. I'll bring my tools up.
Man, I'm all for that. Because the one that we're on the verge of buying is $1,600.
Oh,
so
good Lord of mercy!
Yeah,
they're expensive anyway. I feel like the one we got for my kids back in the day was like $700.
Yeah,
and it was shit, to be honest. Like we could.
And the problem is with this neighborhood and the HOA, it has to be meet certain standards, and so that's why we're going to end up having to go to that level if we want to get one.
What are the standards? Like, do they have to see the receipt? Is that the standard?
No, it's basically it has to match the house. It has to look like it actually belongs on the property, is kind of blends in with the landscaping. So basically, we have to make it look like it's supposed to be there, somehow, way, shape, or form. And so that's and so that means like one of the things they say is like no play sets with the tarp tops, basically something that's going to be able to provide longevity.
Right. Is like, don't be the people that buy the $400 play set.
Primal is the one that I think the game that I'm thinking about. Wasn't there a game called Primal?
Yes. And there was a movie called Primal.
Yeah, but I think the game Primal was basically what Predator the game is going to be, where you play as the Predator and try to hunt people down.
Okay. All right, so ice up to HOAs. Greg ain't having none of that shit with Lydia the pig.
No. Well, it sounds like he ain't got neighbors to worry about, man.
No.
He is getting bogged down with some pride. He's like, my wife wants a barn, my wife wants this. I'm like, before long, he's gonna have to build another house for her.
And he starts and he's doing 4 podcasts. Crazy.
I know. I'm wondering where he's getting his time, man. Man, I'm glad he's got a new PC. Hopefully they can get him the cord. That's the reason he's not on, guys, is that he wasn't able to make it because he got a new computer. They forgot to ship the cord with it. So he is kind of having to take a back seat tonight and hopes that he can be back next week. So
you probably should have mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. we just straight did not even acknowledge it. My bad, Greg, if you're listening to this point.
I mean, we had so much to talk about, too. We had so much to talk about. All right, let's get the hell out of here. I don't even know how we did this. C3 Panthers Podcast, 252-228-5098, @cat_chronicles on Twitter. C3 Panthers podcast on YouTube, and Cripple Connection on YouTube. Search for Cody Lashney, right? No,
Yeah,
what is
man,
it? Is Cody?
No, you're right. Yeah, Cody Lashley on YouTube. We'll do the Cripple Connection podcast on Friday. But I'm going to be doing maybe 1 or 2 new podcasts on my channel. So subscribe to my channel, man. Yeah, I'm going to be uploading content to it, and I'm going to be having a good time, man, talking some shit.
Team with JCVD podcast. I like playing video. Thanks for having me.
So like I said, just hit me up, let me know. Like I said, I'd love to follow on Twitch. We're on the path to affiliate, which I need 50 followers. I think now I am at 23.
Yeah.
So
keep coming.
Keep them coming. I appreciate Joe Riolano said he was going to follow. He did after last podcast. He even tuned in for a stream as well and engaged in the chat. So I appreciate the heck out of him. Biggest thing is, like I said, just getting people in there and actually seeing it. And it's not just about watching video games. It's about, one of the things I do is I try to get reactions out of people. And, I had one where somebody said while we were playing the game, and I in this game, I only talked in my movie trailer voice. And he says, I need to, and this is this morning. So clearly this guy's has been pulling an all-nighter. He goes, I got to play this until I get a win. And then I came back with, you're going to be up for days. and he just starts busting out laughing. And so it's those moments that I appreciate. And I'll clip those and create a YouTube video out of them. But yeah, it's definitely fun. I appreciate anybody who was willing to give me a shot and, help build this community up for sure.
All right. At Codizzle_Allen on all the platforms. And we'll see you here next Tuesday. Panthers players, if you're listening, don't get arrested. Panther fans, I know you're listening, don't get arrested.
Christian McCaffrey, please do not get arrested.
And last, all the Atlanta Falcons fans can get arrested. We'll see you next Tuesday night.